Good morning. This is Sharondi from Providence Life Design, and I wanted to just quickly talk about paint, especially if you're going to do your own paint job, okay? Or if you have somebody that's like not a professional painter, and the two of you are going to team up to get the painting done, okay? Just trying to get you guys sorted. Alright, so painting for a small room, rollers are fine, okay? Rollers are fine depending on what type of regardless if you use rollers or if you use a spray gun, you're still going to need to tape off and section off places where you don't want the paint to land, such as window panes, joints, latches to windows, mechanisms to locks, edges of door handles. Tape up as much as you possibly can. There are quite a few products on the market, such as frog tape. Frog tape has definitely made a name for itself. They've made a name for themselves over the years, so they're probably the most popular one. Sometimes painter tape comes in the color blue, okay, and I know frog tape is green. Yeah, drop cloth is important. Make sure you are dropping down in the area, especially if you are not looking to refinish your floors. Even if you are looking to refinish your floors, you don't want paint on there at all. And when you have work being partially done in one space, let's say it's a renovation, and you have like some of your floors done, it's not all the way done because of joinings of rooms and things like that. You want to make sure that you are putting down, you know, the heavy duty beaker paper. It's like a brown, hard paper. It looks like brown paper bag. Sometimes they're gray. Different hardware and flooring stores, suppliers, they sell it. So you want to make sure that's down on your floor. Spray guns are great to use, especially if the space is not a small space. When you start doing like whole apartments and multiple rooms and entire exteriors of houses and things like that, you got to be careful of the spray guns that are like at that midway price point. For some reason, they seem to cause more trouble than the ones that are like smaller and cheaper, than the ones that are like big and professional. If you can rent one, okay? Make sure you're following all instructions when you're renting a spray gun to spray paint. If you're hiring a master painter, somebody who is familiar with painting, then these are things that you need to expect. All this information I'm telling you, it's for you, but it's also for you to expect if you yourself are not doing the work, okay? So you're expecting him to know to protect your floors at all costs. You're expecting, and if there is an oversight, then he needs to go back and correct it, right? He needs to go back and correct where there is paint that shouldn't be paint, where there is things that need to be free, you know, that they're not painted down and glued down, right? So you want to expect those things. When you're using paint formulas come in many finishes. They have flat paint, which absorbs a lot of light regardless of the shade and color it is. It is great for ceilings. It's great for like low traffic area walls, okay? But the more traffic, the more activity that's going to go on in the room, then the higher and higher and higher you need to go with the gloss. From satin all the way to shiny oil paint. Oil paint is super useful. It's not really in vogue, okay, but in certain applications and design applications, if you're trying to do like a French country kitchen, that type of thing, like, you know, gloss paint, oil paint is totally welcomed, okay. I know the old timers, the old heads, they love that. So they love their oil paint. They, you know, they can't even, but the toxicity of it, oh my God, the smell. Do not do any kind of painting like that if you have a pregnant woman in the home, okay? And a lot of the paint companies, they're carrying low VOC paint and green paint, paints that are good for, that are conducive to mixed-use environments and small people and elderly people, low fumes, no fumes, okay? When you're putting a paint on the wall, you want to make sure that if the paint itself does not contain a primer, that you're using 2 coats of paint and a primer. If you are project managing your job and you yourself are not doing the painting, that is what you should expect. Do not let anybody shortcut, because it shows up. You know, what is done in the dark comes to light, and you don't need much light for it to show up, okay? So, yeah, so tape off. Make sure you're also taping off your baseboards, especially if it's not going to be the same color of the wall. And wood floors especially, you don't, even if you plan on like refinishing your floors, and it's like paint drops on it, like, you know, wood floors, natural wood floors, they can have like natural things, natural characteristics where the wood can like splinter on the surface and things like that. So even if you come in with the machine and you do one good sweep of, you know, sanding, it's like you may still have some remnants of that. Yeah, so I think that's everything. Low VOC, we talked about that. Parts of the room taping off, we talked about that. If you have hanging chandeliers that are not going to be taken down, make sure those are taped up. They're taped up. Use a ladder, not a chair, because you want to be totally sturdy, and tape draping from the top of the fixture to where it, you know, where it hangs. Because paint is, especially when you're using a spray gun, it's like any kind of spray, right? It becomes fine particles. So it could land on anything, and you wouldn't know it until later on. Hence, side note, has nothing to do with interior design. Guys, if you keep your toothbrush out in the bathroom, make sure you have a cover on it. Or keep it inside of a cabinet, okay? Toilet water spray. Okay. But, yeah, so anything that becomes a particle and it, you know, it goes into the atmosphere, it's inhalable, it takes flight, it could land anywhere. So totally be careful of that and expect the most from your master painter. Expect tidiness. If you may question his level of carefulness and persnicketyness, get yourself some extra drop cloths, okay? Plastic ones aren't good. That's an accident waiting to happen. Trying to think if there's anything else. Oh, and then they got those little microfiber kind of brushes. The ones that they're actually made to spread sealer down, but people paint with them. I think there was like a whole like paint system that was on late night, you know, infomercials years ago, and they pride themselves on you not needing to tape off anything. Still tape. I don't care what system you buy. Tape off if you want your place to look neat. If you have French doors, make sure every square is taped off. And then get yourself a little scraper. They carry those at the hardware stores, the dollar stores. The dollar store one is just as good as the $5 one at the hardware stores and the supply stores, okay? Scrapers are good because you can go back over your granite, go back over any hard surface that, you know, any spray, you know, paint has landed on it. So, you know, with painting, paint neatness is paramount, and you know, being neat can make a cheap paint look like high-end paint as long as the application is beautiful and the finish work is neat and tidy. Okay, guys, this is Shamrondi from Providence Life Design. Wear masks. If it is not low VOC paint, keep windows open, keep your airflow going in your space. Have a good one. Stay blessed.